Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression educator. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Boy, how many times have I said that? I think about over 200. Anyway, the title of today's video is When You Are in Hell, Notice Moments of Grace. A really powerful topic, but before we get to it, we have to start with our normal joke. Someone just made a comment, stop telling those jokes. Well, for everyone who says that, 100 of you say, I love those jokes. They're dad jokes, they're corny. Anyway, here we go. Have you ever wondered what it cost a pirate to get his ears pierced? About $1 an ear. All right, well, so title of the course is When You're in Hell, Notice Moments of Grace. And you've heard the phrase, very famous phrase by General Sherman, war is hell. Well, depression is hell also. Major depression is hell. Suicidal depression is hell. And by hell, I don't mean a place you go after you die. It's a place right here on earth of agonizing, unremitting pain that seems to have no end in sight. The great poet John Milton put it this way: hell is a place where there is no light, only darkness visible. Based on my experience and the experience of others, I've come to believe that even in these times of darkness, there is a benevolent higher power watching out for us that brings us moments of grace, brief relief, periods of relief from this suffering. And thank God this grace exists, because if we had to bear this pain, over a long period of time with no breaks, nobody could put up with it. We'd be driven crazy and, probably say goodbye. But it's not. You may think it's unremitting. You may think, oh my God, here it is. I just can't take it. It's happening all the time. But no, there are these brief windows of time when you get relief, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. The first moment of grace I'd like to talk about, I call musical transcendence. I was in the middle of my second depressive episode, which I write about in my book, Healing from Depression. And I was just really having a hard time. So one evening, Joan said, hey, let's get out of the house. Let's do something. Maybe it can get you out of your pain. And I remembered that there was a weekly musical performance of something called the Taizé monks. Taizé is an intentional spiritual community in the south of France. And one of the monks there has written a bunch of beautiful refrains, almost like mantras. So we went to the church, and there was one particular line that I really latched onto, and it went, within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away, that never dies away. Within our darkest night, you kindle the fire that never dies away. And when I heard that and my voice merged with the people in the church, I was just brought into a moment of ecstasy. And like a trapeze artist, I was temporarily suspended above the abyss of my suicidal thoughts, free from harm. Having moments like these was like making deposits into an emotional bank account. Whenever I sank into depression, and it happened again and again and again, I went in and out, I could draw upon these memories, like drawing upon a bank account, taking money out of an ATM. I could draw upon those memories and remind myself that life could be beautiful, even in the midst of pain, if only for an instant. Here's a second example of a moment of grace. And by the way, when I say moment of grace, I mean something that just occurs out of the blue. Nothing you caused. It's just a gift from above. So, a good friend named Russell, he's living in Australia. Lovely place I like to go sometime. And he's like me in a really serious depression, despair, suicidal thoughts. One day, he and some friends decide to drive up the eastern coast of Australia on the way to Melbourne. And it's a beautiful sunny day. He's in the back of a convertible, and he can feel the wind in his hair, the spray of the mist on his face, and suddenly, out of the blue, he starts to feel happy, joyful. No reason. He's just, perhaps it's because it's with his friends and the motion is always cool, and, the sunshine, whatever it was, the combination of everything gave him about 20 minutes of joy, something he hadn't experienced in at least 18 months. And like myself, in the days that came ahead, he was always able to go back to that memory and draw upon it whenever he felt despair. And he could remind himself, it happened once, it will happen again. I will come out of this depression. After Russell told me about his experience, I got inspired. I said, Russell, I have a great idea. Why don't you keep what I call a Moments of Grace diary? What's that? He said. Well, it's very simple, I replied. Anytime you have a respite from your suicidal pain, note the day it happened, the time of day, and how long it lasted. And just jot that down in a book or on your phone or wherever you want to write it, but just start to keep a journal of these moments of grace. And after a week, he came to an astounding conclusion. Even though his brain had been telling him, oh, this pain does not stop, it's never going away, how will I ever survive this? In fact, that wasn't true. There were a couple of times during that week where he was freed from his suffering, and the entries in his diary proved it. Writing these moments of grace down and reading them gave Russell an alternative story to the one he'd been telling himself. And because every thought has a neurochemical equivalent, which means every thought we have triggers a chemical reaction in our brain, what Russell was doing by noticing these moments of grace was literally rewiring his brain, changing his brain, so it was more and more looking to perceive the positive moments. And doing this allowed him to survive the most difficult parts of his depressive episode. Now I would like you to do what Russell did. Create your own moments of grace diary. Anytime during the day, night, even if it's 3 in the morning, if you experience a respite from your pain or a slight improvement of your mood, jot that down. You can either dictate it into a voice recorder or your phone, write it on a piece of paper by your bed, or an actual journal. And if you're walking about, this is often the time I got these uplifts when I was in motion, walking, taking a hike, not on my bike really, that'd be dangerous, but make sure you have your voice recorder, a notepad, or a phone. And if you use a notepad, write it down, and when you get home you can transfer it into your diary. So that's what I suggest you do, and do what Russell did. Let 3, 4, 5 weeks go and start reading these things over. And I guarantee you'll start to be rewiring your brain like he did, and hopefully that will speed up your recovery. In fact, not hopefully, I know it will. Do your best to be consistent with this process. Go ahead and try, even on days when you don't have any good things happening, just be aware that it might happen, and make it like brushing your teeth. Now, the definition of grace is you can't force these moments, you can't make them happen, but you can be receptive. And the more you experience them and the more you're receptive, the more likely they are to come. Have you ever noticed if you see a red car on the road and suddenly all cars are red, something like that? It's this, this preparedness, this receptivity that will allow you to have more and more of these things come your way. Every time you have a moment of grace, you'll feel better, and every good feeling will lead you closer to your recovery. Finally, if you're really severely depressed, you may not be able to notice any moments of grace. This is because, for all practical purposes, the pleasure center of your brain is turned off. It's not working. But please don't judge yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time, because this is only temporary. At some point, you're going to make it through this ordeal, and when you do, the pleasure center will start working again. And you know what? I have found that every time I've gone through a bad depression, the joy that followed was even greater than anything I experienced before. So just think, you're in store for a treat. Get through this period, and you're going to not just be fine, but you're going to do really, really well. Your best days truly are ahead of you. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching the video. If you like it, give it a like, and the more likes we get, the more YouTube recommends these videos. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click on my photo. You'll be taken to the subscribe page, and just to the right of that button, if you click on the bell, you'll be notified every time I do a new video or a new live chat. If you want to email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. And again, you can leave comments. I love your comments every day. I look forward to reading them. They're really uplifting. And when you ask me questions, I always do get back to you. And if you want to become a contributor to this channel, click on the Patreon link. You'll be taken to my crowdfunding page. As little as $2 a month, you can become a sustaining member of this channel. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you so much for watching.